We're going to go ahead and start the ACT meeting for Accessibility Coalition for Tippecanoe County, 3:01 on Tuesday, July 29th. I want to welcome everybody that's here, first of all. So I appreciate you taking some time to come down here and understand a little bit more about what we're trying to do. We do not have the minutes from the last meeting, so we will push that to our next meeting, which is in October, correct, Nicole?
I am not sure.
I believe it's October, yes. So, and from there, I'm just going to do quick introductions for the people that are in the room. My name is Tim Clark. I run my own business, Intact Management Group, and we've been appointed by the commissioners to oversee this program as a group of volunteers that were required by the Department of Justice to do this program. And part of this is to get input from the public, put things into play from what we hear from the public, from what we see and understand as ADA necessities throughout the county. And then we are also here to, when somebody files a complaint, there's a complaint form online with the city of West Lafayette, with the Tippecanoe County. There is one with Lafayette. We are with Purdue. We are also trying to get it set up through Battleground, Dayton, West Point, Shadeland, to also have their own individual programs. But it's all monitored through this ACT group that when we do, once a year, we have to send the information to the state, to NDOT, on what's going on. So that's what this is all about. Again, I was appointed by the commissioners to oversee this as volunteers, so it's not Big Brother overseeing what everybody's doing out there. So from there, Nicole, introduction.
I'm Nicole Foster with the City of West Lafayette.
And we do have a couple people in the audience. Our highway superintendent, Stu Klein's here. We have representation from West Lafayette also. And then we also have, at this point, one representative from Bright Star Daycare. Is that correct? Daycare or just home care? Thank you. We've invited, for this meeting, we've invited all the nursing homes in the county and the home health care companies to be here to get their input on what they see with the programs that they have and how we can help them make things much easier for their clientele. So with that, we're not going to go into old business. From the only thing I'm going to say about old business is we have reached out to Greater Lafayette Commerce to be part of this group and for them to be able to send information out to all their patrons to invite them to this as well. Because a lot of businesses don't understand what it is that they need to do, and we're here to help them with that. So that would be the old business. We were hoping that somebody would be here also from Greater Lafayette Commerce, but I don't see anybody at this point. So new business, I am going to ask Kira to step to the microphone and talk to us a little bit about what it is that you guys do, how you do it, and what some of the areas that you see in your business that you could get information out to people to make it easier for your people. And I guess explain a little bit about what all it is that you do and how you do that logistically. You know, do you take people out? Do you only go to their homes? That sort of thing. And if you do go out, you know, what are some of the things that you guys may run into? There's a button on the microphone that you have to hit.
All right. Okay, it sounds like it's on. So my name is Kira Troutman. I am from Bright Star Care. We do home health and skilled nursing. So this is a company that is local to Lafayette. We are about 7 minutes down the street here, so pretty local. We do service Greater Lafayette as well. So we've got Tippecanoe County, Carroll, Benton County. We really try to focus a lot on rural communities as well, because that can be a challenge to get any home health care out there. When it specifically comes to what we specialize in, that's going to be a few different areas. So we have our geriatric care, and then we also have pediatric. So we see a lot of the aged and disabled waivers. We work quite closely with the state to provide care for anybody who's on that traditional Medicaid or Pathways plan. So those are our two avenues that we typically service. When we service, what that looks like is we come into the home, we'll send, it depends on who your payer is, but we will send either a skilled nurse, a registered nurse, or a home health aide, someone who has that certification to the home in order to assist with things such as bathing, dressing, meal prep, and even assisting with eating. We see a lot of difficulty with spouse burnout and parental burnout, and so that's another important thing that we try to stay on top of before it gets to a point where it becomes unsafe. So underneath, there are a few different waivers through the state. Underneath the Medicaid waiver, we can do things such as house cleaning, dishes, groceries, running errands. And then there's another waiver called MAPA, and that's a prior authorization. This is more hands-on care specifically. So we do things such as bathing, dressing, anything that is more hands-on, so grooming, things of that sort. So that's typically what you're looking for when you contact Bright Star. But even if you're not sure of exactly where to start and exactly what help you need, we do have a strong community of healthcare partners in the Tippecanoe area. And so even if it's just a phone call to start the process and figure out what even do I need, that's kind of where you start. So just by giving us a call. Anything else you'd like to know, Tim?
Yeah, do you ever, with your clients, do you go out and are you allowed to take them out of the home to go to the movies or take them to the grocery store, whatever, get them out?
Yeah. Yep, that is something that we are allowed to do. That is going to be covered underneath the Medicaid waiver. So we can't bill for that through MAPA, but we can through the Medicaid waiver. So that's another important thing is we're getting our clients out, we're giving them experiences, and we're just kind of changing up their everyday so that it doesn't feel so the same, yeah.
So with that being said, do you, and this may be something we'll give you a little bit of homework to go back to your
Sure.
office and find out, and that is when you do take people out of the home, because we really can't do anything from an ADA standpoint in, as far as in somebody's home, but if you were to take them out, bring some information back to us on some of the areas that they feel are difficult for them to get people around.
I see. Yeah. Difficult to access,
Yes.
difficult to, okay. Yeah, I can definitely do that. I've heard different comments from different caregivers, so I can check in with them and see if they have any specific comments.
Okay, and you've got my
Yeah.
information, so that's something that we want to start tracking.
Sure.
Because one of the things that we have found, and I'm in the process of representing a local client in federal court that has a lawsuit against them. And part of his thing was, I didn't know it wasn't right until this guy filed a lawsuit against me. It's how can we help those individual businesses get that information out? So if you're taking people out, it's some things that we want to be able to go to those places to say, hey, look, we're working with Bright Star. They've brought to our attention that there's some issues at your facility for them to be able to bring their customers to your place to be a customer and help them get over those hurdles to make their facilities a lot more accessible.
Interesting.
So this is one of the reasons why we invited, Bright Star, Home Instead, Help at Home, Comfort Keepers, I don't remember all the names, but again, we invited the different retirement homes, nursing home facilities as well, to be able to bring that information to us, because we need to know what those hurdles are. So I appreciate you coming in and sharing this information with us and understanding a little bit about what it is that you do and how we can help you, but help your clientele as well, but then also help the other businesses out there become more accessible. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Tim.
Mr. Stu Klein, would you happen to want to step up to the microphone and tell us what some of the hurdles are that you deal with in the highway every single day? Outside of your normal,
Nobody said this was gonna happen. Yeah, in fact, we just had a meeting this morning with DLZ Consulting that Paul has gotten involved with, talking about our ADA compliance. And we've had a plan in place, transition plan in place since 2012. Been going well. As part of our asset management, we track sidewalks, ramps, trails, accessibility. Our latest new challenge is that the school corporation, TSC, is going to a 1-mile walk zone. So in past, we've had these sort of heat maps, like what draws walking, a grocery store within walking distance of different subdivisions, et cetera, that kind of thing. And that's been a well-established map, heat map. That all just got blown out of the water with all of the schools and the subdivisions within that 1 mile, prioritizing what we can do to get them connectivity. And as you can imagine, it's a pretty expensive endeavor, because it's not only within the subdivisions, making sure they're up to date, but then between the subdivisions and the schools. New systems going in, and there's a lot of variation. We've got 120 some odd subdivisions, and they vary from last year to when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, I mean, and a lot of them, the very old ones, don't even have curb and gutter. They're like rural estates, except they're not. They have side ditches. That is an immense challenge to build a pedestrian facility when you have ditches. Immediately, there's no level ground to put your sidewalk in. We have the right of way, but you have to rebuild the subdivision, basically. So that's the whole prioritization plan. That's what's going on with us right now.
so with that being said, and I guess we'll go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, because the school corporation is doing this, have they offered any monies up to help you through that process?
They have not offered monies for the grand scheme, but they are providing internal trail systems. If we get them to here, they're, like you can imagine out at Harrison is a prime example. Huge amount of development going on out there. But it's the 1 mile radius takes you to all the timber blank developments out there. There's 520 units, everything out there. So if we get to the edge of their properties, they take care of it. If their entrance point is south, then they'll grant right away. It's a cooperative. They can do what they can do, but they can't. You can understand it would be difficult for them to expend funds outside of their properties.
Right. So with all that being said, do you guys, as part of your plan from this point forward to anything that's going to be built within a mile of Tippecanoe School Corporation, making the developer put something in?
There's current ordinances require them to have internal sidewalks. And there's a new thoroughfare plan and new ordinances being developed, and that will include perimeter sidewalks and trails. So not only within the interior, but if, say, they border 600, take Timberberg, for example. Since they border 600 north and 150 west, that they would be required to build the perimeter, or contributing to a fund or some kind of thing to try to offset that. But there are so many subdivisions out there that are pre-existing. They don't have sidewalks. Some, Harrison Highlands, I mean, prime example if you're familiar with it. They do have curb and gutter. They do not have sidewalks. And so the intent there, that's high on our list because it's low-hanging fruit. We're already building trails, sidewalks, and improvements on the main roads, on the county roads. Our plan is to do one route from 50 West through the subdivision to 600 North. So we're not going to do every dead-end street in there, but one path, and then as they do currently, they'll have to walk in the streets to get to the main path, but at least we'll give them access, and they won't be walking in the street to the main highway.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah. You know, and I'm gonna say this, and for anybody that goes back and listens to this, or, you know, that pulls it up from the web to see this sometime in the future, is a lot of people don't understand. They think, well, just put in a sidewalk. There's so much more that's involved with, you know, you talked about, you know, your stormwater runoff, your
Oh, yeah.
easements, your right-of-ways, you know, all the things that go into, you just don't build a sidewalk, and the things that you have to go through
Right.
to make this happen, and people need to understand that, especially, you know, and I hear this from the ADA community, why don't they just put in a sidewalk? Well, it's just not that easy just to say, I'm gonna throw down some concrete and or some asphalt, and there you go, everybody's gonna be happy. It's not that. It's not that easy, so people need to, anybody that's out there that sees this or listens to this needs to understand the due process that you have to go through to make all that happen.
And it's all budgetary. I mean, if we had unlimited funds, we'd build everything.
Well, you know, money's never a problem until you have to talk about money, so, and it's always a
Exactly.
problem, so.
Exactly. And
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
we do what we can. Thank you.
We appreciate everything you do, so. Kevin, would you like to come up and say something?
Coming up to say something? What am I supposed to talk about?
I didn't warn you about this.
No.
Yeah. So Kevin's with West Lafayette.
I'm with the
Parks.
Save West Lafayette Parks Department. I'm the director at the John R. Dennis Wellness Center, and then I sit on our city's ADA committee as well. So kind of where the focus of our committee right now seems to be, we're gonna have to put a lot of work into redesigning our website to make it accessible. There's a big push. Do you remember, Nicole, when it's?
Because our census is under 50,000, we're at April 2027.
Seven.
We're shooting for that 26, we're actually.
So that's going to be the focus of our committee's efforts for probably the next year, is really doing that. And staying on top of all the concerns, sidewalks and streets and, the same thing that everybody else is concerned about. From a facility standpoint, at the Wellness Center, we try to make it an inclusive environment for everybody. So we do our best. The building was designed with accessibility in mind. So it was, and it's still a fairly new building. It's been open 4.5 years now. So it still meets all the ADA requirements, but we try and go above and beyond on a lot of that as well. And like when we recently put in new fitness equipment or new cardio equipment, made sure to keep, our ADA spacing all together, compliant. That's the word. Thank you. I didn't know I was going to be put on the spot.
You're not put on the spot, you know how to do all this, so. And yet, you guys have been doing ADA since 2011. So there's a lot of things that you guys have already done that a lot of places have done nothing at this point. And I know that because I've been hired to do things in other communities that they're putting their hands up saying, what do we do? Where do we start? You've been doing it for 14 years. The county's been doing it basically the same amount of time. So there's a lot of things that have been done, a lot of things that still need to be done. But again, it goes back to having the finances to do what you have to do and make things more accessible. So
Exactly.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
I'm in the same group. I don't know that I would have much to add than what Kevin gave, so.
Okay. Nicole, do you have anything you want to add? Kent? We have, Kent joined us from the county. He's the Director of IT. Is that your title? IT Director? Chief Information Officer.
But yeah. Yeah, IT director works for this environment. According to my web guru, we are ever improving on our web accessibility. But we need more power. I think he's trying to be funny. So our website's coming along. We've been working on it several years, and the majority of it is compliant. The PDFs remain the biggest challenge. It takes a lot of manpower to go through and remediate those. David's going to work on training more users to create accessible PDFs to simplify the process.
So you have steps in place already where, sorry, you have steps in place already where which will roll into the education, the training and stuff. I know you've got a few people going to the symposium in Atlanta, but you're doing in-house training now to get more of your people on staff up to date on how they need to do their documents to be able to put them online to make them accessible.
Right.
The city of West Lafayette would appreciate any help and guidance in how you are remediating old PDFs so that we can also start that process.
We've tried a couple of different tools, and I think the best success I've heard is about half of a document is done correctly, and the other half still done manually. So we're hoping an AI solution comes along. He must be watching this and commenting on me. But I'm hoping an AI solution comes along that'll simplify this, let it go through and help us find everything. Most AIs don't actually do anything. They're still search and suggest kind of options because they're worried about that program going wild and just deleting everything. A major corporation last week lost a major chunk of data because an AI went wild on them. And so luckily they had backups, but it's a coming technology. It's not there yet. And
So you saying this because I'm not an IT person, so I guess dummy this down for me a little bit. When you say you're trying to update the documents to a PDF, what?
so all the PDFs, the protected data format, is what PDF stands for. It's supposed to be so a document's locked down so somebody can't say, well, you've modified that or something like that.
Right.
We've been using that on our website since we had a website 20 years ago. There's different recommendations on how far back we need to go to make things ADA compliant. We've got a goal of just finding our top 50 documents, getting those compliant. But with other duties being assigned, it takes about a week to get one document done because there's always something else going on. Don't have the manpower to just sit down and say, this is all you're doing this month, get them all hammered out.
Got you.
I know my biggest concerns with the PDF ADA is getting the alt image things, especially for our maps. Like, we have so many maps that go through Board of Works and stuff, and getting those descriptions in is not possible manpower-wise. And then also like old legal descriptions that are in teeny tiny horrible fonts and stuff that it's hard to update all of that.
Yeah, these documents weren't created with accessibility in mind.
Right.
And now trying to go back and fix that is not a simple task. That's why we're trying to educate people on creating them right the first time.
So that's part of your training, it's, a lot of people think of ADA, you think of the physical barriers out there, but these are other areas of ADA that we really need to be cognizant about on how do we do this, and like with a private entity, Bright Star being in here, it's probably the first time you've heard this, that your website is supposed to be ADA accessible, and most people say, what does that mean? How do I make my system ADA accessible? So it's a big help, because again, I understand PDF, but I didn't know if there was some way do you have to use a certain font when you're doing a PDF, as, a certain,
There's definite recommendations. I don't know if there's any, not actually required, but fonts.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's 12 point and then the non-serif fonts like Arial. And there's a couple others that are highly recommended, but Arial's like the easy old standard one.
Yeah,
But like, we have tons of stuff in New Times Roman that's not.
yeah. And then you get something like Stu would produce, some map or something that, drawing of the next project that's coming out. How do you put in a description of that? Because it's not a kid playing with a puppy. That's an easy description.
right.
When you've got a roundabout going in with 4 roads coming in, you end up having to create, a page describing what's going on, and then you have to go to his staff to actually describe it properly, because my IT staff doesn't know anything about roads, other than they drive on them.
No, it makes sense. I mean, things that we don't think about. I mean, it's not something I would have thought about at this point of, especially in a map. When I think of what we're trying to do IT-wise, it's, if I log into my system and I have I'm visually impaired or hearing impaired, it's talking me through this, not realizing all the information that has to go on the backside for me to be able to sit here and look or listen to
Yeah.
a description.
And an AI tool that, obviously not there yet, but maybe that could grab his map or drawing and interpret it for somebody, and, describe it to them audibly,
Right. Audibly.
auditorily?
That works perfect for me.
Question, so you're, on the text, the whole deal is to be able to do the verbal read, right? So they can listen, and those who can't see can listen to the text being read to them.
Correct.
Right.
Is there an expectation that to describe a map or a
Yes.
picture? I mean, there's some things that are kind of beyond our technology, or at least our budget.
Yeah, and that's part of the issue.
That's it.
I started with the city in 2012 and was on the ADA committee almost immediately. And then David Mills talked about images, all those years ago. And back then I was saying it would take, like, there needs to be multiple full-time people working just on making documents ADA compliant. And that's, of course, feels impossible, so.
Well,
Is there a hard deadline or anything on the image side of this thing?
It's part of that deadline that they've given of 2026, 27, depending on your population size.
Do you have to have the image for the, do you have to have it done, or is it one of those things where you have to have a plan?
I believe we're supposed to have it done and backtracked several years, somehow, some way.
and word that I'm getting is, what we're going to see is when the IT groups out there get more involved with this, that those dates are gonna be pushed out, because there's no way it's gonna happen. Because, we say this, from an ADA standpoint, if you go back and look at the original, when it was signed into law in May of 1990, everybody was supposed to be compliant by 1992. And here we are in 2025, still working on trying to get everybody compliant. So are we gonna say it's gonna be, 35 years for the IT side of this? We all know, if I buy a computer today, 5 months from now, it's outdated because somebody's come up with something new and better. But as IT is changing and the world is changing of IT, all that's gonna have to try to change with it, and they're gonna end up putting steps in place to say, we want you to be to this point with this part of the program by this date, and then the next step from there. That's what I'm hearing directly from the ADA world out there, mainly, Great Lakes ADA, University of Missouri, which is where I have my certification from, that when I'm talking to those people, that's what, they're not saying it out loud, but they're saying, you're gonna see that those dates are gonna be pushed out. So, because we're not gonna be able to hit it. And it's not just, this group here, we have one of the commissioners, Tracy Brown is on this committee, Paula Bennett's on this committee, but if you go back and look at all the people, you're gonna find that everybody's saying the same thing is, there's no way we can have all this stuff done. And it's not just municipalities anymore that you're finding that all this stuff is being pushed down to the private entities, such as myself. I'm required that if I'm hired by a municipality to do anything for them, to supply them with my Title VI program and my ADA transition plan. And you're not technically supposed to hire me unless I give you my program itself, which is, we're gonna give you the cliff notes, but with ADA, it was originally all governed by the Department of Justice. And then all these years have passed, they don't have the personnel, just like we're talking, we don't have the personnel to do the IT side of this. Department of Justice has really pushed this down on to the Department of Transportation. So now that Department of Transportation is involved, they're starting to push this out to other individuals to say, the municipalities, that you as a municipality are required to make sure that I have what I need, and that when you're hiring contractors to do your sidewalks, or you're hiring your contractors to build new buildings in your community, that they're following the guidelines of ADA. Well, I can tell you now that every community that I do work for at this time, the contractors doing work have no idea, and I won't say where this is, but there's a sidewalk in a brand-new building that's being built within one of the counties close to here, that the contractor keeps saying, we're gonna build you a ramp, but the ramp is the actual city sidewalk, and it's gonna be 5.3% slope. And my response is, your cross slope can't be greater than 2.08%. And they keep saying, well, yes, we are, because we're building a ramp. It's like, you're thinking of a person walking into this building, and they're like, yeah. It's like, what about the person that's just walking down the sidewalk? You can't have a cross slope more than 2.08%, because that becomes a hazard for somebody that's got a disability. And these are guys that are going around building this whole BOT program, building buildings for municipalities that are saying, well, yeah, we don't have to do this. Yes, you do have to do this. And for you to get your occupancy permit at this point, you will make it correct. And if it's not correct, we're gonna make you tear it out and put it back right. So that's what I'm dealing with a lot of contractors right now, is we don't have to do this stuff, but they're finding out that they do. So, it's a full circle, and that's what we're starting to see more and more now is Department of Justice is giving it to DOT's giving it to municipalities, but municipalities are now having to go out to the contractors and say, and if you don't have a program and your employees don't know and understand, we can't hire you. So if you bid on a project, we cannot accept your bid if you're a low bidder on a project because you don't have this. So that's where the push is, we're starting to see more and more now, is to get the contractors on board to know and understand what, here's a book. They should all have this book right here. 2010 ADA Standards for Accessible Design, because you're gonna find a lot of your answers right there in the book. So, and then I'm gonna go back to training, is I get phone calls from different architectural firms all the time saying, can you help us through this process? Because they're gonna build it to IBC, International Building Code, over ADA. because International Building Code falls under ICC, International Code Council. To do this way, ADA is a civil rights issue. They're gonna try to do their best, but when it comes to an issue, they're gonna follow IBC more than they follow ADA. So, I get those phone calls all the time to help. How can we help out with something in this situation? So, the one big thing that I tell them, and I'll tell you guys too, and that is, when something says minimum, that doesn't mean you have to build it to the minimum. You can go over and above that, and one of the big things is parking spots. 1 in 25 parking spots has to be accessible. And if there is 23 parking spots, that one parking spot has to be van accessible. That's a minimum. You can make 5 parking spots if you want, but you have to at least make 1. Turning radius being 60 inches, make it 66. International Code Council is getting ready to pass that all turning radiuses in bathrooms have to be 66 inches. It's coming, so when that happens, ADA is 60, so they're gonna be fine, but that's what I tell them all the time. Every door in your building, make it a 36-inch door, because it's gotta have 32-inch clearance. Well, but we don't wanna make put 32 or 36-inch doors. We want 32. A 32-inch door does not give you 32-inch clearance. Make every door 36 inches. Make it easy for yourself. You know, Stu, you got, the situation with sidewalks, and people don't understand, when, your aprons coming up on a corner, how the truncated domes need to be located, and, they have to go from curb to curb. They cannot no longer have that 3 or 4 inches on the side. Your slope going up, there's all these requirements that are involved. So that's what this group is for, and this group is to help businesses out there to say, we're here, we don't want you to be sued. We want you to be able to do the right thing and take the money that you would have paid somebody when you're getting sued to make the corrections in your building. And that's part of what this group is for, is to help from that standpoint. House Resolution I think it's 614, back in 2018, that's what it was set up for is, so instead of an individual filing a lawsuit, they have to file a complaint. And then the complaint gets followed up on, and whoever is the receiver of that complaint has basically 180 days to come back to a group like us to say, this is what we're going to do. So the complaints that we've received at this point, so everybody in here knows, have been resolved pretty much immediately. The one that I will say is on the west side was 9 Irish Brothers. We had a couple of complaints about where the ADA accessible parking spots were, and Jerry was very cooperative on the whole thing. We told him what it was that they needed to do. He went out and got it taken care of, and everybody was happy. His biggest complaint was the students keep stealing my ADA accessible parking signs because they want to put them up in their dorm room and their apartment, whatever. But he's now has them located on the side of the building and nobody's touched them. So, but every complaint that we've had, we've done our follow-up, and the business owners are happy to know that there's people out here giving them the information so they know what they need to do. So, well, I appreciate everybody that's here, the opportunity to come in here, talk about, do you guys know and understand a little bit about what we're doing? We have one private business entity here. She's given us some information. We've given her a little bit of homework to go back and find out where they're taking people out and about, and how we can go look at those places as well to give them an idea of what they need to help out. Because ultimately, if we can help that business, more people are going to patronize that business because they know they can get through the front door, basically. So, other than that, does anybody have anything else they want to add? Yes, sir.
You guys were talking about PDF accessibility and website accessibility. I'm the Tippecanoe.gov webmaster. Kent was probably talking about me a little bit ago.
You were the one on the other side of the computer.
My ears were burning, and yes, I was texting him some stuff through Teams real quick, but we have 47 departments, right? And those 47 departments are constantly making new documentation, new PDFs. So getting it right the first time is really critical. So we've got to make departments responsible for their own documentation. We can provide them instructions, but we don't have the manpower to necessarily remediate everything that's being put out, which is why we've got to stay on top of it. We're working through the backlog of thousands of documents. I mean, I'm trying to identify which ones are problem documents and then fix those, because I don't have the time to test every single one of them and and fix everything that's wrong. Some of these documents, the remediations can take hours, especially if it's a fillable form. Like, that can be very difficult. The Acrobat software, it's like you're going around and around and around in a big loop, and sometimes weird things happen, and you get into trouble and you basically have to start over. Why I think the best process, so the way you're supposed to do this is you're supposed to start in Microsoft Word. You make sure that your document is set up correctly in Microsoft Word for accessibility. That involves setting the correct styling for everything. So like if you have a title, it needs to be styled as a title. If you have a heading, it needs to be styled as a heading. And you need to have nested heading structures. So you need to have H1, H2, H3, so on and so forth. Basically what that does is it allows the document to become collapsible, so you can click on the H1 and it collapses all the H2s and 3s beneath it, and they disappear, and you can go on to the next H1 or H2, et cetera. There's all kinds of considerations, and I'm still learning them as I go. That's why we need people to take more responsibility. We really do. Every department's got to be responsible for creating accessible documentation from the start. It can't just be one person in one department's responsibility to go back and fix all the mistakes of an entire government. It's frankly non-feasible. I will be doing that until I am dead, and it will still not be completed. So that's why I was trying to tell Kent, we need more manpower. We need more people focusing on this type of work. And that's how we're really going to be able to make sure that we're providing accessible experience for our online users.
So with you saying that, do you feel like you guys are working on, starting from this day forward with your personnel, with your 45 different departments, to make sure we're doing it right now, and then at some point you can start going backwards to previous documents?
I mean,
Or is it kind of both
we're
at the
kind
same
of doing
time?
both at the same time, but yeah, we need to provide some clear instructions on how to create accessible documentation. I still have not quite got there myself. I'm learning as I go, like I said. So I'm trying to both learn and instruct people at the same time, which is sort of difficult. But I'm doing my best, and also all while managing the website and performing various other duties. So I'm doing my best here. I'm trying to make sure that we're going to have an accessible website, that we're going to have accessible documentation. In the time that I've been here, about 2 years, I think I've received one accessibility complaint about a PDF, which was, very quickly fixed. And we put that back out there, and that's the only one I've had. We provide various routes for the public to contact us if there is an accessibility problem on our website or with a document. And if we receive one of those contacts, we will immediately work on remediating it. Yeah. And we have a notification email set up so that when the public emails that, we will be notified immediately. So,
Great. Thank you very much.
hey, no
That's great
problem.
help.
Do you guys have any questions?
I don't understand IT, so
Yeah. I feel that way myself
my IT
sometimes.
is, when I can type faster on a phone than I can on a computer, it's,
Yep.
but I think it's helpful. You get, between you and Kent both, some of the things you just explained and how the things that are doing, the things that are going on. But I really feel like a lot of this is, I'm going to go back to in 1990 when they signed all this into law, that the federal government was expecting all this to be done in 2 years and realized quickly that it's never going to happen. And,
Yeah.
again, we're 35 years out and still trying to work through a lot of this stuff. And then, that there's updates coming because, the 2010 standards, they thought there was going to be new standards out in 2019, then 2020, and then 2021, and here we are in 2025 waiting for the new standards. So the new standards are going to come out, but, also understand and realize that if you build it right the first time after 1990, you don't have to change it, because it was done correctly back then, you know,
Yes.
in that time frame.
Yes,
So,
and that's critical. That will save us all kinds of things.
Right.
Doing it right the first time is like the chef's kiss, you know? That's how you want to do it.
right. So, well, are you going to the symposium this year?
I would love to go if someone can sponsor me and send me there.
Because I know I want to say Paula said there was, I don't know, 5 or 6 people going this year. It's a great thing to go to, and, because you get to be able to, so anybody that knows, a symposium is put on by ADA, and you'll have hundreds and hundreds of people that go to this thing, and you'll go to some of the classes and you'll meet other people that are going through the exact same thing of what you're talking about, and you can bounce things off of each other to help each other out. And what I have found in all the symposiums that I've been at is the people that are in my phone now that I reach out to, that, because we can't be a specialist in the whole entire, everything to do with ADA.
Yeah.
But you find people that specialize in a certain area, just like you're talking about 45 different departments. Everybody has a specialty in what they do, and when you find somebody that specializes in different thing in ADA, you keep them in your phone because those are the people you reach out to the most, and you meet them at the symposium. Doing the virtual is great because you get the information, but you don't get the hands-on, one-on-one with other people in the classroom. So, if you can go, it's a great thing. If you can't, at least try to get to go to, it's not the same time, but do the virtual, because it'll give you a lot of information. So, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything else? Tim or Jesse, do you have anything?
Right on site, I think you saw me coming up. I can give.
Oh, sorry.
Is this still on? Okay,
Yes.
I can, since the PDFs has come up a couple times, West Lafayette, we did do a demo last Friday on open forms. I don't know if you've used that or it's a Granicus product. We currently are using something called form assembly, but we're using an online tool where we put the forms in. It's not form assembly, sorry, I'm having a brain moment, but it'll tell you all the things wrong with it once you upload the PDF. But, you know, it doesn't manually, you still have to go manually fix all those items. It's a nice tool, and the one that Granicus showed us seemed better. But again, like the AI, if there are AI tools that you guys hear about or from the symposium or anything, we can communicate, because I think that is probably where we're headed, and as far as like things that can fix those issues and then review them kind of thing. So we're definitely looking at tools on West Lafayette as well to help out with those. Do it the first time right kind of thing, yeah. Yeah.
Good
So-
deal. Thank you. Well, that's all I have. I appreciate everybody coming. We'll get word out. Actually, I sent Paula a sign-in sheet, and she's not here. Before everybody leaves, if you could sign this sheet to say you're here, I'd appreciate it, because we need to keep record of who shows up for meetings. So, and then with that, put your phone number and email address so we can correspond with you. I would appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.